Most developers think GitHub Copilot is the peak of AI coding. It's the industry standard, the safe choice. But after building a production-ready SaaS from scratch in just 24 hours, I realized something. Copilot isn't the solution anymore. It's actually the bottleneck in a professional development pipeline. Look, I've spent the last decade shipping software at scale. I don't care about Hello World DMOS. I care about context windows, code base indexing, and how much manual cleanup I have to do after an AI helps me. To find the truth, I put the three biggest players, Copilot, Cursor, and Windsurf, through a brutal stress test. One of these tools actually understands the entire project structure. The others are just fancy autocomplete. In this video, I'm breaking down the exact workflow I used to ship a full SaaS in one day. We're comparing agentic capabilities, codebase awareness, and raw speed. By the end, you'll know exactly which tool to install to stop fighting your IDE and start shipping faster. Let's be honest. We've all been there. You're in the flow. You ask Copilot to implement a complex feature across 3 different files. It gives you a great snippet. But then the manual labor starts. Copy, paste, fix the imports. Realize it hallucinated a function that doesn't exist. You go back to the chat. Hey, you forgot the types for the user interface. It apologizes, gives you a new snippet. Copy, paste. This isn't AI-powered development. This is AI-powered copy-pasting. For a junior, this feels like magic. But for a senior dev, it's a bottleneck. The real cost isn't the subscription fee. It's the cognitive load. Every time you leave your code to prompt a chat window, you're breaking your flow state. You're spending 30% of your time actually coding and 70% managing the AI's lack of context. You're not building a product. You're babysitting an LLM that can't see your whole folder structure. If we're actually trying to ship a production-ready SaaS in 24 hours, this friction is a death sentence. We need something that doesn't just suggest code, but actually understands the entire code base. Without that, you're just a highly paid editor for a bot that's guessing. The problem isn't the AI. It's the interface. For years, we've treated AI as a fancy autocomplete, a plugin that lives in our IDE. But if you're a senior dev, you know the real bottleneck isn't writing the line of code. It's managing the context of the entire system. To find the actual ceiling of productivity, I set a challenge. Build a production-ready SaaS in 24 hours. 1 app, 3 different AI setups. First up, GitHub Copilot. The industry standard. Copilot is great for the micro. You need a regex. It's there. You need a boilerplate utility function. Be easy. But the moment I started scaling the SaaS architecture, Copilot hit a wall. It doesn't truly see the project. It sees the files you have open. When I asked it to implement a complex auth flow across 3 different services, it started hallucinating functions that didn't exist. It's a tool for the line, not the feature. Then I switched to Cursor. Cursor isn't a plugin. It's a fork of V's code. That distinction is everything. Because it's the IDE, it indexes your entire codebase locally. Using the @ symbol to reference specific files or the entire folder changed the game. I didn't have to copy-paste context. I just said, using the patterns in @auth service, build the @billing webhook. And then there's Composer mode. It doesn't just suggest code, it writes across multiple files at once. I watched it scaffold an entire API route, the front-end component, and the database schema in one go. That's not autocomplete. That's orchestration. But then I tried Windsurf. If Cursor is about context, Windsurf is about agency. It introduces what they call flow. While Cursor waits for me to accept a change, Windsurf acts like a junior engineer who actually knows what they're doing. It can run the terminal, read the error logs, and iterate on the fix autonomously. In my 24-hour sprint, Windsurf handled the tedious debugging of my Docker configuration while I focused on the business logic. Here is the cold truth for professional devs. Copilot is a calculator. Cursor is a blueprint. Windsurf is a collaborator. If you're still relying on a plugin to suggest the next line of code, you're leaving 50% of your productivity on the table. So the results. Copilot is great for snippets, but for a full-scale SaaS, it became the bottleneck. Cursor and Windsurf didn't just suggest code, they understood the entire architecture. Windsurf's agentic flow is a game changer, but Cursor's code-based indexing is still the gold standard for production. If you want to level up your workflow, I've put the best sign-up links for Cursor, Windsurf, and Copilot in the description. Using those links supports the channel and helps me keep stress testing these tools for you. The landscape is shifting. As a senior dev, you can't afford to be the person still manually writing boilerplate while your peers are shipping 10x faster. Hit subscribe to stay ahead of the AI curve. Now, I want to know, are you sticking with Copilot or have you already made the switch? Let me know in the comments.